Hey, it's Doug Giles with ClashDaily.com. I got a good buddy here, Ranger Joe Kapicheski. Said it right?
Yes, sir.
You got to hear this guy's story. First of all, Joe, tell him when you enlisted, what you've been doing, the extent of your injuries, and then I'm going to milk that story for all it's worth to send it sideways up the metrosexual male's tailpipe. Go ahead.
I'm Sergeant First Class Joseph Kapicheski. I enlisted into the Army on the delayed entry program in May of 2001 because I was still in high school. I graduated that summer and had a start date of September 18th into basic training. Lo and behold, September 11th, 2001 happened, and a week later I was in basic training, which was a great time to be joining the military because I was able to knock out my basic training in AIT at Fort Benning. I went immediately into airborne school. Upon completion of that, I had the opportunity to try out for the Ranger Indoctrination program. So I was assigned to 3rd Ranger Battalion, and in June of 2002 I did my first combat rotation to Afghanistan. We had great rotations between Iraq, Afghanistan. October of 2005, found myself in northern Iraq. Daylight operation, we go out hunting down a high value target, and as we were going underneath of an overpass, we were ambushed, and they started to lob some grenades down and some small arms fire. One of the grenades made it into the vehicle and exploded next to me, which was sort of earth-shattering. But we were able to get on the radio, get the vehicle moved underneath the overpass, and we're all qualified in Ranger First Responder. So I had a Ranger buddy come over, and he started to patch me up. My leg was beat up, I knew that, and I was trying to patch that up, and I thought my arm was broken, I couldn't move it, I didn't have any feeling in it, and it was actually my Ranger buddy who reverted back to the training that we do, found that I had an artillery bleed in my arm, and put a pressure dressing on it, which ultimately saved my life. When I got to the cache up in northern Iraq, the doctors told me I was empty when it came to blood. So if it wasn't for his reaction and training, I would have expired before the doctors even had a chance to work on me. So I spent 6 months up at Walter Reed, left there with an external fixator on my leg, trying to save a bunch of surgeries, and it unfortunately didn't work out. So in March of 2007, the doctors had to amputate my leg below the knee. And it was very tough to go through and everything, but the military doctors are absolutely phenomenal. They patched me up and put me back together again, which is quite a feet.
You're fielding things that most people, if they would have gone through a fraction of what you went through, they would have found a lazy boy recliner, some potent high prescription meds and stuff, and they would stay doped up, sitting in that kind of position. What makes you tick, man? Why didn't you just quit and milk it? I mean, why do you want to get back into the thing that cost you a leg, nearly cost you your life?
I would have to say it would start when I was a young boy. My father was the hardest working person that I ever knew. And as a young kid, the work ethic that he taught my family, my older sister and my younger brother, was one of the tools that he used to set us up for success in life. I mean, I remember as a young kid, we had chores. I mean, we'd go up and collect eggs from the chickens, we'd milk the goats, we'd take care of the animals, we had big gardens. And, during the summer, we had to do our chores. We didn't go hang out at the beach for a month or two. One, we couldn't afford it, and two, my father's work ethic and what he wanted to teach us is what we did. So the work ethic that he instilled in us as children helped me through my recovery more than I ever knew. I lost my father when I was 12 years old, so that plays into effect too, because I feel he's up in heaven always looking down at me. And if I felt sorry for myself and sat on the couch, he'd be rolling around in his grave. And you always want to make your parents happy. And the work ethic that he instilled, I felt that I had to put to use, and I had to get back into it. As corny as it sounds.
How many times were you deployed?
A total of 10.
10, after the injury?
No, after the injury was 5. I was
Five.
injured. I was injured on my 5th rotation.
Now, what did they did they give you a desk job, or were you?
It was
What
a,
happened? What kind of?
when
Did they take it easy?
when I left Walter Reed, and I was still trying to save my leg. I stood up in arms room, and I was an armor. And then after I had my leg amputated, I went out to Brooke Army Medical Center for about 6 months, learned how to walk, run, use a prosthetic. And when I showed back up to their Ranger Regiment, they put me in an instructor position. So I was training and selecting guys coming into the Ranger Regiment. Yeah, I mean, and there was no, hey, you know, you can hang out behind the desk or anything like that. And that isn't what I wanted.
Now, when
when
you got back into the fray and stuff, were you always the guy that was behind everybody by 200 yards and they had to wait on you? I mean,
no. One of the things that they teach us in the Ranger Regiment is, as an NCO, you have to lead from the front. So it was tough, but getting back into shape and being able to do everything that everyone else was able to do, and because of, you know, my amputation, people looked at me a little bit different. So, you know, I couldn't just meet the standard, I had to exceed the standard. So they made me re-qualify on all of the Ranger standards, which include Army PT test, which includes a 2-mile run, as many push-ups and sit-ups as you can do in 2 minutes. And in the Ranger Regiment, we also do pull-ups. So I had to do that. Ranger Regiment standard is 80% and above. So of course my goal has to be 100%. You know, I need to max everything. We also have to do a 5-mile standard run in under 40 minutes. So I trained up for it and I was able to complete mine in 34 minutes. We also do a 12-mile road march with 40 pounds of gear in under 3 hours. So trained up and I was able to do it in 2.5 hours. So then I was asked if I would be able to fast rope out of a helicopter. And I was like, well, I don't know. We have a big tower out back, so I learned how to fast rope on the tower. And it's one of those things with my prosthetic, I'm not able to pinch the rope with my legs like you usually do and get the friction that I need. So when I got to the bottom of the rope, my hands were on fire with 1 set of gloves. So I wore 2 sets of gloves and I was able to adapt and overcome and learn how to fast rope.
so you mentioned you have children. How old are your kids?
I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old boy.
Now, when you look at that, when you look at the culture and stuff, and you see how soft it's becoming, hailing from the being a ranger and having all these rowdy buddies around you, and then looking at the culture, and then you have these 2 little charges under your tutelage and stuff. I mean, from a parental standpoint, how are you going to provide and protect them from becoming the pudgy, squish brain kid that doesn't have, you know, the moxie, the wherewithal, you know, necessary to be the dude? All right, let me try that again. That didn't even make sense.
So some questions, brother.
All right. Okay, so we'll just bring it in on the kid stuff. So how are you going to make certain that your boys do not get influenced by this whole metrosexual culture? Because, I mean, you as a ranger with all your rowdy buddies, with that work ethic, I mean, how are you going to make certain that they don't get tainted by the weirdness that's out there?
1, you got to lead by example. And 2, you have to surround them with people who have the same ideals as you have. And I think with those 2 things coupled, that my boys will grow up to be knuckle dragging, door kicking men just like me.
Last question. Legacy leaving. Joe Kapacheski takes off and goes to that beautiful Ranger heaven in the sky. What do you want to leave? What kind of mark, what kind of scar do you want to put on this planet?
Never quit. No matter what anyone says, what adversity that you meet in life, never quit.
Joe Kapacheski, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.